high school. Our hangout spot was the baseball field behind the abandoned grade school. We always figured construction would eventually plow it down, but the crew never came. The town was poor, and the location, right along the woods, far from everything, was terrible real estate. We loved it because nobody else went there. It was a safe haven, especially for friends like Tim, who had awful home lives. When we were on those rusted-out bleachers, smoking and talking, the cops couldn't touch us. But even before everything happened, one detail always creeped me out. An old lamplight right by the bleachers still worked. It cast a harsh, lonely orange hue. Since it was the only light, we were bathed in it, poorly illuminated against the absolute darkness of the surrounding woods. Whenever I got too high, I'd look into that abyss and think someone or something could easily see us, and we would have no idea. I wonder how many times they watched us. Early that summer, my friend Johnny and I planned to meet there. I got there first, and his car wasn't around. Going to the field alone was frowned upon, but I enjoyed the thrill. I walked past the school, through the woods, and settled on the bleachers. I waited 10 minutes, then 30. Nothing. The thrill wore off. I started jogging back to my car, texting him repeatedly, but he never answered. I waited another 10 minutes in my car, then drove home. The next day, Johnny still hadn't responded. I wasn't worried until my mom asked if I'd seen him. All our friends knew as much as I did. The last time we saw him was 2 nights ago at the field. Days passed. Search parties ran rampant. We never found him. To this day, the body has never been recovered. I tried to convince myself he ran away. He was adventurous and hated our town. But he wouldn't leave without a note, especially not on those bleachers. About a month later, I went back alone. I was too angry at the world to care about the risk. But as I reached the end of the woods path, I noticed people on the bleachers. It wasn't my friends. I had never seen these people before. 3 of them sat completely motionless, like statues. But the 4th man was the one who unnerved me. He was dancing and skipping around, an uncomfortable, almost manic happiness. At the time, I thought maybe he was on Molly. Now, I just think he was a damn psycho. Worst of all, he looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. It was like seeing an unfamiliar face in a dream. I knew I'd seen him, but I couldn't remember where. It was too strange. I backed out as quietly and quickly as I could. Luckily, they didn't follow. When I got back to my car, I nearly sped away, but instead I drove around the school lot. In the back corner, I saw a car. I recognized the model. It was the same one Johnny drove. Just as I spotted it, the lights turned on. I abruptly reversed and got the hell out. I couldn't get them out of my head. I told my friends, and they agreed it was weird, but they dismissed it. I even stopped going to the field. Late that July, feeling nostalgic and sad about Johnny, I decided to look at an old yearbook. That's when I found him. One of the janitors was in the background of a sports team picture. As soon as I turned the page, I knew it was him, the dancing man. Same face, same hair. I told my friends, and eventually I went to the cops. They likely thought I was crazy, but they ran a background check. They found nothing. Even his social security card was a dead end. The man was a ghost. Near the end of the summer, I was at a Dunkin' Donuts. It was early, and I was groggy, until I saw him, the dancing man, the janitor. I was convinced it was him. Then he saw me and smiled. He hurried out of the store, and I followed. One of his buddies was waiting curbside. He rushed into the car, and they sped away before I could get to them. But what I saw horrified me more than anything else. The license plate of the car was the same as Johnny's, 4PAC 207. I knew it was unique. It was the same car I had seen a month before, only now it had a new paint job. It clicked. That was Johnny's car. They got a paint job, so I didn't notice, and I still beat myself up because of it. I never saw him or the car again. Now it's just a memory. Rest in peace, Johnny. In the summer of 2024, my three buddies, Jake, Sam, and Marcus, and I needed a break from our internship at the Kennedy Space Center. We were star geeks, and we craved a night under a pristine sky. We settled on a remote clearing deep in Tate's Hell State Forest, a swampy, desolate stretch of the Florida Panhandle. The name comes from a legend about a settler who vanished in the swamp, supposedly cursed. We dismissed it. We just wanted stars. We drove 7 grueling hours, hit our Airbnb cabin near Apalachicola late, and then headed back out. The deep, calm, and eerie male voice into Tate's Hell was brutal. Narrow dirt trails, dense pines, and murky wetlands. The air was thick with cicadas. With no cell service, we used walkie-talkies. Around 2 a.m., we reached the clearing. The sky was unreal. We spread blankets and set up the telescope. 15 minutes later, Sam's voice hissed over the walkie-talkie from the Mustang. "Yo, you see that? Headlights." My gut twisted. 40 miles from the nearest town, at 2 a.m. in a massive forest, nobody is just passing by. Trouble had found us. Jake, in my Tesla, grabbed the walkie-talkie. "Flash them. See what they do." I flicked the headlights. 3 sharp bursts. An old rusted pickup truck stopped about 100 yards off. No honk or wave. Then we saw them. Shadowy figures stepping out. 2 or 3. They just stood there, staring. Then we heard it. Faint, low, garbled voices drifting through the swamp. Whispers we couldn't make out. "This is messed up," Marcus crackled. Sam sounded spooked. "Those voices, nobody's out here at 2 a.m. for anything good." Jake tried to stay cool. "Maybe locals, but let's move." We set a rule. If those lights showed up again, we were racing back to the Airbnb. We drove a mile down a side trail and set up again. 5 minutes in, Marcus's voice cut through. "They're back." Those same headlights sliced through the dark, much closer now. Then came an engine rev, a clear threat. Sam yelled, "Get us out now!" We scrambled into the cars. I floored the Tesla. Roots and branches scraped the undercarriage like claws. Those high beams stuck to my rear-view mirror. We were 40 miles from help. 4 basically defenseless interns at 2 a.m. in a place called Tate's Hell. I pushed the Tesla to its limits. The trail veered, and for a second the truck's headlights vanished. I prayed we'd lost them. But moments later, they were back, toying with us, knowing we were trapped. We hit a fork, and I swerved left. The truck followed. Finally, the dirt turned to pavement, and a faded highway sign appeared. I glanced back. The headlights were gone. Marcus's Mustang pulled up beside us. We stopped on the shoulder, panting, staring into the dark. The only sound was crickets and the crackle of the walkie-talkies. The drive back was silent. We stumbled into the cabin, locking the door, but even that safe haven felt vulnerable. Who were they? Poachers? Druggies? Or something tied to the old tales of Tate's Hell? The way they watched us, the way they chased without rushing, it wasn't a prank. They wanted us to be afraid. We never went back. We don't talk about it. But when I'm driving those lonely Florida roads at night, a little part of me has permanently become hyper-aware. In December 2023, I took a 3-week vacation to Japan. My family owns a ryokan, traditional Japanese inn, built into the side of a hill next to the Daishoi River. My father once told me that when the hotel was built, workers found old stone blocks and pillars, the remnants of a shrine built there around the 9th century. I hadn't stayed there in 15 years, and I was eager to explore the forest below the hotel for traces of the ancient ruins. I arrived at the hotel around 8 p.m. It was snowing heavily, and the hotel was virtually vacant. I was the only person there. The feeling was surreal. I grabbed a key, let myself into a suite, and slept. The next day, I went into the forest below. The snow was ankle deep. After an hour, I was completely disoriented. My phone had no signal. I decided to climb the large hill directly in front of me to get a better vantage point. The ascent was steep, but off to the left, I noticed the remnants of a dirt path winding toward the summit. I followed it. Near the top, the path abruptly ended. I looked around and noticed a small cavity in the hillside, maybe 5 meters away. I climbed up and found myself standing in front of the entrance to a small cave. I shined my flashlight inside. I was hit by an overwhelming, strange smell. The best way to describe it was the heavy, musky scent of a zoo animal. The small alcove led to a large stone chamber. In the center was a large rectangular stone block. Deeper inside the chamber, there was another rectangular block, but this one looked hollow. I walked up close. To my utter shock, I could see human bones inside the block. Surrounding the bones was a long piece of steel and a bunch of old bronze coins with square holes in the center. In a mix of shock and disbelief, I reached down and picked up one of the corroded coins. Just instinct, I guess. Before I could examine it, a loud crash came from deep within one of the side tunnels. I pointed my flashlight toward the sound. The animalistic scent got instantly stronger, toxic. I grabbed a long piece of steel, which looked like the remnants of a long blade, and held it as a weapon. I started backing away. This time, I could smell smoke under the overwhelming stench. I heard a rhythmic thumping originating from the tunnel, like someone banging a drum. That When I lost it, I ran out of the cave. As I ran, I swear I felt the entire cave vibrate and shake. I tumbled down the snowy slope, dropping the blade. I kept running until I heard the sound of a car driving past. I managed to flag down a passing driver who eventually agreed to take me back to the hotel. Through conversation, I found out I was 4 miles away. I arrived back, packed everything, and drove back to Kanazawa. I didn't feel safe being alone in that hotel anymore. This story has a follow-up. In February, when the hotel was fully staffed, I got a text from my father. Someone had broken in through the first-floor window. Surprisingly, nothing was stolen or damaged except for the front door of my room, which was smashed wide open with some sort of blunt metal object. I don't know if this is connected to my experience, but I am definitely not staying at that hotel ever again.